nutritionist, a researcher, health ambassador for Stay Healthy, an author, a guy who is on a mission to help people live their best and healthiest life. And I am excited to be here. I am always. And I am that guy that cares. And that's why we share, because we remember what Zig Ziglar said. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So I could know a whole bunch about a lot of things, but if a person doesn't feel like you're thinking about them or looking after their best interests, they will tune out. They will just shut down. Well, anyway, I'm not gonna keep you long. Today I wanted to share with you a proven solution for crushing cravings. Now, when I say crushing cravings, I'm talking about when you're craving sugar, when you're craving bread, when you're craving um, crunchy, salty foods, when you're craving, right? And you really are wanting it. I'm going to share with you what we know to be true in our own practice, as well as what science backs up and supports. Now, do me a favor if you're catching this live for the very first time, let me know who you are, say hi, or ask a question. Um, if you're on YouTube, make sure you click subscribe, hit that bell so that you get notified every time we put up something that we believe could be very helpful and beneficial for not just yourself, but maybe your family and your friends and anyone that is looking for solutions or clarity around how to live their best and healthiest life. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's just jump right on into it. Now, before I go into detail, and if you have questions and you catch me live or the replay, I can come through and I can answer through comments. So don't hesitate to do that. Also, our information is made available for you to learn more about our services, our programs, and you can email any questions that you have directly to us, and we will get back to you, because this is a big part of our ministry, is helping people become informed so that they are not likely to fall prey to even those who are misinformed. You know what I mean? It's like having the knowledge is powerful. And as my favorite book says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. And when you don't have knowledge as it pertains to nutrition and health and all of these things that we talk about on a regular basis, man, life could be lived a little bit more challenging than not. So, in order for us to really make the most of how to crush cravings, the first thing is to understand what we mean by a craving. Number one, you cannot crave something you have not had. Like when I say that I crave licorice, that's because I've eaten licorice. If I say that I am craving McDonald's French fries, well, I've had those McDonald's French fries. But if I've never eaten, let's say, a sweet potato, I would never crave a sweet potato because I have never experienced it. So we can really only crave the things that we've experienced. Okay, so it's important to know that, right? Because if you've never eaten a brownie, you're not going to crave brownies. Now, the second part of this is that a lot of our cravings come about because one, we've experienced it, and two, our gut microbiome, all of those microbes have also experienced it. And if a colony of bacteria had a positive experience, then signaling begins to take place. Communication between the gut and the brain, which we know takes place, puts you in a position where now your brain and your gut have positioned you to crave certain foods. I'm keeping it simple, right? So first, you have had to have had the experience with something to crave it. Now your gut starts craving it. And as your gut starts craving it, then guess what? You're probably going to go after it. So, how do I help my clients not fall prey to foods they crave? Okay, it's really simple. Okay, so you can write this down. If you have questions, reach out to us. If you want to coach, yeah, if you're working with me, great. I have other coaches I can connect you with. But here's the deal. When you are a carb burner, you're more likely to crave foods that fall under the umbrella of carbs. So whether that's chips, whether it's processed brownies, whether it's bread, whether it's licorice, man-made, manufactured candies. Okay, notice they fall under the carb family. Now, a carb burner is the total opposite of a fat burner. A person who is a fat burner is someone who primarily burns fat for energy. Okay. Now, they can still crave. And when they do cave to those cravings, they don't tend to experience the negatives of gaining weight because they're a fat burner. Now, when you're a carb burner, you're more likely to crave because you're a carb burner and your gut knows what is missing, and your brain and gut is having this conversation behind your back. And the next thing you know, you're buying that exact thing that you didn't want to eat. So how do I get around that, right? How do you avoid cravings? Well, one, a lot of this has to do with insulin resistance as well. When you're a carb burner, what you want to do is you want to suppress that by eating in a way where you are a fat burner. Now, we know scientifically that when insulin levels are elevated, right? And if you're eating in a way where your insulin levels are elevated, you burn fewer calories than if insulin levels were down. Because the science has also taught us that when your insulin levels are lower, meaning you don't have as much of an insulin response, then you burn more calories. And the other thing is that when you're eating in a way where you're not causing your insulin levels to be elevated, you are a fat burner and you crush those cravings. Now, I'm not saying this, you can do this in one day, but what I have seen pretty consistently is that people who go about 3 days eating a certain way that we coach them, those cravings are gone. They are not there. Now, they could have an emotional experience, right? Like an emotional eater, and find themselves wanting to crave, because when you have that triggering event, right? That emotional moment, what happens is you have a glucose level that goes up, which is sugar in your body goes up. And this is because of epinephrine and adrenaline. When your glucose levels go up, insulin gets released to bring your glucose levels down. And it's a tug of war right there. And then that tug of war, because glucose levels are up, you no longer have insulin being suppressed. Boom, the triggering event takes place and you find yourself caving in and wanting to eat. So what I've learned for myself is that whenever I'm stressed out or I'm feeling emotional about something, I know that I'm about to have this experience where I'm going to be full on carb burner. And to suppress that, I make sure I have something in place, and it's called convenience. I have it where it's convenient for me to eat a meal that is not going to cause a high insulin response. The last thing you want to do, right, for instance, is to eat processed chips or processed carbohydrates, because those processed foods are going to put you in a position where you're more of a carb burner, and then they're going to trigger you to want more, and then you're going to want more, and then you're going to want more, and next thing you know, you're off your pattern. You're frustrated, you're beating yourself up, and it's like getting in this rabbit hole. You don't know where it's going, but it's dark and it's not going to be good. So to crush cravings, number one is you want to become more knowledgeable of what we mean by insulin response. So the clients that I work with and have worked with, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you who are new to what we're talking about, if you were to stick primarily to whole foods close to nature, and that doesn't mean avoiding carbs, but if you ate an apple instead of drinking apple juice, or if you ate an apple instead of eating apple chips, which is more processed, that's going to be better for you. It's going to help cut down those cravings, and it's going to reduce the insulin response. When the insulin response is lower, remember, you don't fall prey to wanting to crave. Now, if I'm craving something personally, if I want brownies, the second part of all of this is not caving into your cravings, but enjoy your craving. If I want brownies, I'm going to make brownies. I'm going to enjoy a brownie as a snack, and I'm going to keep it moving. But I'm not going to make brownies if I'm in the house all by myself and I got to look at these brownies all weekend by myself. I'm going to start eating way more brownies because it's now convenient because they're in front of me to eat the damn brownies. So I'm not saying don't eat the brownies, but don't eat the whole damn, pan full of brownies. So set yourself up to win. That's a big part of how you tackle and deal with cravings. The way you eat plays a huge role on if you find yourself craving. The way you don't eat can put you in a position where you're craving. And then when you're craving, it's that whole thing of you don't want to fall prey to the Adam and Eve hypothesis. And that is, if you keep telling yourself no, you're going to want to do it. If they tell me I can have the entire garden, but don't eat that apple right there, there's something inside of a lot of us that will compel us to want to eat the damn apple. So my suggestion, eat the apple. Like I tell my clients, just eat the damn pizza. If you really want pizza, just eat it and let's get back to what we're working on. But when you eat it, there are smarter ways to eat it and put yourself in a position where you're less likely to experience a spiral downward in motivation, losing focus, and that's not what we want. And this is how you navigate around it. So I hope that helps. And if you got questions and you want me to do something more on this or go more into the science of it, I don't mind doing that. But I wanted to share this information with you today to help you because many people get off track because of cravings. And it could have been prevented just by eating in a way where they don't cause high levels of insulin response. Notice I didn't say glucose, insulin. But once they eat those foods that are high in sugar, glucose, carbs, that's a craving, then they just want more and more and more. And the next thing you know, what was going to be a splurge for one moment becomes a splurge for the entire weekend. So I hope that helps. And I want to say thank you for being here. Please do me a favor and share this information with other people. Invite them to learn more about the Diet for Life methodology, what we do, because our goal really is to help you by providing you with information that if we hadn't have provided it, you may not have ever gotten it. I hope that makes sense. I'm Robert Ferguson, America's fat loss coach, and a guy who loves to share